Hey, what's up? What's up, man? Doing a little setup as I'm just starting the stream. And I think everything should be about right. If you want, I can check out like what I was thinking, that you can send a link to, you know, any of your videos and I'll check it out and give some live feedback for that if you're interested. And you can also ask me any questions about guitar playing. What's up, David? Ciao. What's up? SAMI. We'll see how good time for stream this is, like midday in Finland, because I don't know how many people from you know, overseas usually watch these streams. For how many years have you been playing? A little bit over 10 years now. So I started when I was like around 15, I'd say. Now I'm 25. Oh, thanks, man. But yeah, of course I haven't been playing for like you know, 10 years straight, but I started like 10 years ago. But then I've had like a few months breaks here and there, of course, and you know, less practice at some points, but you know, overall a little bit over 10 years. So feel free to send any links to your videos or something like that, and I'll check them out live and give some feedback for you all. And if I won't be getting any links, we can just, you know, you can ask any questions about guitar playing as well. Do you start the fast part of Dire Sieve with an upstroke? Is that the fast part? I do downstroke for the power chord and then continue the alternate picking with the downstroke. So, and I played it a little bit incorrectly in the Metallica Hardest Songs video. I played it like 2-3, 2-3. But whenever you get a pattern like that where you have a power chord and alternate picking after that, you want to look for how long the power chord is, and 99% of the time you want to continue with the downstroke after that. So let's say in that song, it's the power chord is the length of 2 alternate picked notes. So the power chord is equal to 2 alternate picked notes. So you could imagine that those imaginary alternate picked notes would be down, up. So you continue with the downstroke after that. So you want to keep like a consistent rhythm with your picking hand, so it follows the same idea as if you were just alternate picking the whole time. And the same thing is if you have like different rhythmic patterns, like you know, some thrash metal like Chemical Warfare or Evil or Thrasher, you know. You want to also always look for, you know, imagine those pauses as if you were picking them, and see how you would continue alternate picking if you were just continuously picking. And that usually leads that you always start with the downstroke, you know, that next alternate picking pattern. But it's gonna make it much more easy for you to keep up and keep really even timing, really tight accuracy as well. Hey Knight, what's up? I just made that. You're breaking records, man. 2 days straight with streams. Yeah, this is like groundbreaking at the moment. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, sure, David. Feel free to ask any questions. This is pretty much, I was planning on just, you know, helping people out on this stream. So any questions, feel free to ask. What's up, Kobe? How do I keep my hands relaxed and less tense when I play? At times tension in the hands develops when I play. Well, there's two main things you want to do. Is one, you want to increase the maximum speed. You know, it can be left hand or right hand. You want to increase the maximum speed because that requires for you to have a more efficient technique to do that. And when you have more efficient technique, that means that when you play using that same technique at slower speeds, you should be more relaxed. So when you increase the max speed, it's also going to increase the relaxed playing speed, which kind of follows. You know, example, if you can play max speed alternate picking like 240 BPM, that's not going to be fully relaxed, but you can probably play something like 210 BPM completely relaxed. And another thing you want to do is look at what's your current max speed for completely relaxed playing. So let's say if 240 BPM is your max speed, then that 210 BPM could be that relaxed speed where you can stay completely relaxed. And then you want to increase also, you know, practice at that 210 BPM and increase it little by little. So you focus on the muscle control on whichever hand you're practicing on. So if you're practicing alternate picking, you want to focus on whenever you start to tense up, you try to control that tension by relaxing the hand. So it's gonna be pretty much when you're always gonna find that you start to tense up at some points. But the important thing is that you learn how to relax when you start to tense up. And also a few other tips is for like left hand. You know, if you play some legato, for example, is to try to relax the hand completely and have the muscle memory do everything. It doesn't even have to sound too good, but you want to try to find out how to keep everything as relaxed as possible. And then you just add a little bit more pressure to that so you get good sounding notes. I was talking yesterday about those power chords between alternate picking. I have a weird pause when hitting that chord from higher strings, and when I play just down picking, that chord comes more fluent. Something like this. What I do is, if that's the alternate picking and playing power chords, is, well, there's a few things. One is that you can use the left hand index finger to mute the thicker string. So that way you can actually hit the E string with your picking hand without it making like a huge amount of noise. I'm just hitting all the strings. But the index finger is muting all of the other strings. And another thing is, which I mentioned a little bit yesterday, is to, if you want to not hit the E string, which is of course more desirable, but it's getting pretty tough at like super fast speeds, is that you want to look for the last upstroke on the E string when you're alternate picking, and make sure that you get a straight line to the A string. So you leave off with the last upstroke, so it's a little bit up in the air, so you can hit the A string. After that, 5/7 from A and D, palm muted E4. So that's pretty much the exact same motion, and you can of course have, you know, any amount of alternate pick notes on the E string, or, you know, even A string and doing the power chord on the D string. And yeah, you can use the index finger to mute the thicker string, so you can actually hit the E string even when you're playing the power chord. Or then you can focus on, you know, leaving that last upstroke a little bit in the air. And that's especially useful if you alternate pick between two strings. That's when you want to leave the upstroke a little bit in the air. So that's when my picking motion is pretty much, it's not completely like parallel to the body. It's a little bit in this angle. So always when I do the last upstroke, I can just move my hand and hit the next string. Let me switch the angle a little bit so you can see. With this push to talk thing, it's pretty tough to explain, but let's see. So the picking motion is a little bit like this. Downwards to the body and upwards away from the body. So when I have to change the string, I just move my hand a little bit and I can just hit the next string easily. So if I just pick in, you know, this direction, it's gonna leave the last upstroke behind the string, so I have to jump above it. And that's gonna be pretty problematic when, you know, playing fast alternate picking between strings. What's up, Igor? Greetings from Poland. Greetings from Finland to Poland. And yeah, what's up, Sir Coconut? Another stream. And yeah. What amp drive and cabinet does Megadeth use? Do you have the exact tone as the rhythm guitars in your video? I can't remember much of like different bands' gear, because I just pretty much use plugins and just put on some preset. And I would say, you know, the tone in my videos would come, you know, mostly from the picking, you know, the actual playing instead of the tone settings. You know, I pick pretty hard and I've spent a lot of time, you know, finding out a good palm muting position and everything like that. So let me actually try to demonstrate that. So let me put on like a really different tone here. So a lot less gain, but you can hear the picking is still, it has like something that even this dry sound could work somehow if I recorded it, because I'm really focusing on the actual playing instead of relying on the plugins to do the tone. And it's just, using plugins or amps or cabs or pedals to enhance the tone that you get from your playing, instead of, completely relying on the tone settings to give the tone. Now it just sounds better, of course, with a little bit more gain, but it's not like I don't recommend, picking softly and using like tons of effects to get the good tone. Like, you should definitely focus on like even using something like, let me actually, like a really, really low, like a clean tone. It still has that, attack in it. And when you add the gain and all the effects, it just enhances it. Where can I find tabs for alcoholizer surfing beer? I learned it by ear, but I can show you the riff for that. I've noticed that fewer those alt notes, it is harder to get the speed. What you can do is just, isolate it by itself and just find out how to pick, 2 alternate pick notes and power chord after that. So you just find out how to play that difficult thing for you by itself and then add it to your regular playing. Alcoholizer surfing beer. It's in A, I would say A blues scale. It's like a Locrian thing, but it sounds, really bluesy. So I would say it's like open 3rd fret, 5th fret, 6th fret. And then just E string 3rd fret power chord, A string 3rd fret power chord. So it's like in order going through the scale and ending on different notes. So first you end on the 6th fret, second time you're descending, ending on the 3rd fret. And next time you're playing open 3-5 and ending up the open string. And the main riff is just E string 5th fret, but you do this little hammer on from 3rd fret at the beginning. And the fill is A string 6-3 open open 6-3 open open. And this is like A string 3, D string, A string 5, D string 5, and G string 7, this power chord. Posted a video link, but it's not happening in a chat list here. Are you able to see the link? Just a second. You can send a link in Facebook and I'll check it out. How do you hold a pick? Well, it's there's of course different ways to hold a pick, but because it depends on your playing style and pick angle and everything. But the way I hold my pick. So it has quite a lot of room for down picking as well. So I can get really, I can really hit the strings. There's like lots of room in the pick. Notes is harder than main alternate picking. Are you talking about this riff? You can pretty much like whatever the riff you're trying to practice is, try to just remove the amount of notes that you have to focus at once and try to make those few notes sound really good and get them up to speed. Then practice the next group of notes. What's up, Paul? Really missed your live streams. Nice to be able to catch one. Cool, man. Awesome to see you here. Does anyone know if Gem Junior is good guitar for the 500? I've never played one, but isn't that like a short scale one? Any thoughts on string gauges? What do you prefer for speed? I'm using 9-46 in standard tuning at the moment, and when I tune this half step down using the same string gauge, it's of course easier to pick faster, because I can get even like I would say even a better tone from lighter strings, because I can really hit them, really hard. And I know many guitar players who do that as well. And I also was in touch with Violator's guitar player, and he said that they went from 10-46 to 9-42 for playing those super fast alternate picking and gallops and down picking songs. And they also said that it's like much easier to play with 9-42 strings at string gauge. So I prefer a little bit lighter strings. It's a little bit more difficult to control the strings because they vibrate more. But once you get used to it, it requires less power from you to pick. So it's of course more speed. Is Ibanez good guitar? Yeah, I love this Ibanez. The 7-string Jackson has large scale length of 26 or so compared to the conventional. Larger scale length, an advantage or disadvantage? It depends on like a few things. Like first of all, it gives you a higher string tension, so it's gonna be better for like a little bit lower tunings, like when you have a larger scale length. So in terms of the tone, you can, I'd say that it's gonna be advantageous. But for playing, of course, a little bit wider distance between the frets. So it depends on like whether you have any difficulties, playing on regular scale, if you have to move around, because it's gonna be tiny bit more moving around when you have longer scale. But I would say it's like a really minimal effect in terms of like 26 compared to 25 and half. Yes, but personally prefer ESP and Jackson. I prefer 11 gauge strings, moves less and easier to control for me. Yeah, for sure. And it's way easier to control thicker strings. And yeah, and also like a lighter string set I really like for like the ability to do wide vibrato or things like that. And with thicker strings it's gonna be really difficult. So with like 11s, it's gonna be pretty tough to move the strings. Earlier comment was for the same 5-5 with 5 riffs, so those 6 palm muted notes is easier than those 2 palm mutes between chords. Yeah, for sure. It's definitely let's say that if you have to play, you know, continuously 2 alternate pick notes and a power chord after that, it's pretty tricky. Because there's a lot more moving around when you have to play the power chord. It's like a wider motion, so it's always gonna be more tricky. But especially when playing fast. But yeah, definitely, you know, isolate that and work on that specific motion of 2 palm mutes and that power chord, and you'll get that, you know, the same level as those 6 palm muted notes. JS22 was in Bulgaria. Damn. Didn't let me play it. That's unfortunate. Come to Finland and I'll let you play this one. I've been playing 10s and found that I had to muscle through my fast picking. I'm going to try 9s to see how it works for me. Yeah, it's you know, the best advice I can give to string gauges is try different string gauges and see how they feel for you to play. You know, there's always like advantages and disadvantages, and I personally feel that there's more advantages in the lighter strings compared to thicker strings, but it's just my personal opinion. What difference does an ebony or a fretboard make in playing? Doesn't matter for the guitarist. Well, it's a little bit different feel, like what kind of a fretboard you have, but I don't really personally think it's like too big difference, like how hard the wood is, like when your fingers lightly touch it. And you know, the acoustic tone changes, but I don't think there's like much different at all when you're playing with through an amplifier. So it's I just like maple fretboards, like for the looks. You know, light wood looks cool to me. I've always liked this. You know, same as the sides of this guitar. You know, the body here. But yeah, it's mainly like the acoustic sound, you know, maple is more bright, and, you know, something like a rosewood or ebony is gonna be more dark sounding. But I would say that's like one thing that affects the tone of the guitar, but it's like, personally, I don't feel the need, like if I have 2 guitars with the different fretboards, I wouldn't pick one depending on the tone it has, just for the sake of having a different fretboard, because I you know, when I play through, you know, play metal stuff, I play through an amplifier, so I don't feel the difference in tone effect by the fretboard that much. So I just go for the one that I like the look of, so it's more fun to play when I, you know, when I have a guitar that I like the look of. You have made those good practices for down and alternate picking. What kind of schedule should I use when practicing those? Like 5 minutes every day or once a week or what? I would just say that whenever you're making like a practice schedule, what everyone can do is list out different things that you want to improve on, and then prioritize those on what's the most important technique or aspect of guitar playing that's gonna help you reach your, you know, goals as a guitarist. And then, you know, spread your daily practicing time, you know, depending on what of the importance of each aspect. So let's say if you have 30 minutes to practice every day, and you have like 4 different things you want to work on, you can maybe practice, you know, 10 minutes the most important thing and 5 minutes to other things, and use the spare time for, you know, practicing whatever you feel like practicing. But the main thing is to get consistent practice. So at least, you know, 5 minutes every day for anything you're practicing, and of course more the better. But if you also don't make only like guitar playing into practicing only, so also have fun, so learn new songs, jam, so it's gonna keep guitar playing fun. Do Ibanez, Jackson, etc. make their guitars in China, Indonesia? It depends on the model and the series of the guitar. I'm pretty sure that all companies have the cheaper models that are made in China or Indonesia, or somewhere where the cost to manufacture isn't that high. But the higher end models are made in Japan or USA or I'm actually shopping for a new guitar and I narrowed it down to an Ibanez and Jackson. A smaller budget and found these two brands offer a lot for the price. Yeah, I've been a huge fan of Jackson for a long time, and this is my first like real Ibanez that I've had. I just fell in love with the looks of this guitar, so decided to go for this. But I was also looking at some Jackson models, and I think there were some other ones I was looking at too. But actually, this is my personal thing, but what I love the most about Jackson guitars is usually they have the neck reinforcements, graphite or whatever it's in there. And it's like really good thing for the stability. And the Jackson Pro Dinky I had, it was like the most stable neck I've ever played. So it was just fantastic. Notice that when I play something and notice some problem in my playing, I start to practice, then I forget all the other practices. Yeah, it's not like a end of the world thing. Like I can't say that every through all my years of guitar playing, I've always practiced efficiently. So it's like, for example, when I was working on economy picking a long time ago, I was just just practicing like 8 hours every day economy picking. But yeah, it's of course improved my economy picking, but it also helps some other techniques because I consider like anything you practice also supports other techniques. Like when you're working on your picking hand, like alternate picking, it also supports your down picking. So it's like what you want to learn, and if that's the thing that you're practicing the most, forgetting about other practices, then that's fine. And I guess good general advice for that too would be that you want to spend like 80% of the time focusing on the most important things and have like 20% of your practicing time for something that generally drives you forward. Like what I do in this example is I use the 20% to practice, different theory concepts. Something that helps me, widen my knowledge of music theory, which isn't like really practical at the moment for my guitar playing, but it's something that consistently moves me forward in my knowledge. And then I spent the 80% of the time in something that I actually, really want to learn. Hey from Russia. Hey to Russia from Finland. What's up? Like now is that few alternate notes between chords moment. Well, I think that's perfectly fine, because you're when you're like just practicing one thing, it's gonna of course improve much faster than if you just practice it 5 minutes every day. So it's all related. Like what are your goals? What you want to learn? I did some covers with it. If you want to see how to play, do you know any 80s pop music on guitar? That's a tough one. I'm not sure if I know any 80s pop music at all. Can you name like a few songs? How do we identify a fake Fender, Ibanez, or Jackson? Oh, I'm not like a huge professional in if there's like some fake ones, but I think there's always like I think at some point I saw somewhere that specific guitar models have, for example, specific headstock, and if it's like a little bit different shaped, that could tell that it's a fake. And yeah, I'd assume that there's plenty of things that just by looking at different details in the guitar, if you know the guitar model well, you can just tell if it's a fake. But it's a tough thing to do, of course, if you don't know the guitar model, what it's supposed to look like. And I'm not like hugely knowledgeable in like different guitar models, like all of the different details, like how this part is supposed to look like in this guitar, exactly, and things like that. Final countdown. Haven't really practiced. Thank you. Yeah, no problem, man. Let me know when you got the time for the chat, video chat. Songs like "Every Breath You Take" by the Police or "Down Under" by Men at Work. The Police. Let me try to think if there's some. Can't even remember the chord progression in that Message in a Bottle, but yeah, something like that. I haven't really practiced that many like that style of songs, so it's mostly metal and maybe some bluesy leads and things like that. But even the bluesy stuff, I usually play like metalized versions of those. You know, something like that where I just completely make it unbluesy. How much did your Jackson Kelly cost? I bought it used. It was like, I think 300 euros or 250 or 350, something like that. But it was actually pretty bad purchase because the frets have been filed on the sides like pretty poorly, and it also has the nut. That locking nut is not completely in the center, so the high E string, it's like the nut is a little bit higher, you know, towards this top, then it's not completely in the center, so the high E string always falls off the frets. Want to get meal real quick, but get the volume of the speakers high so I can still hear you. Yeah, you're gonna have some shredding neighbors there. By the way, does anyone have any? Let me see if. Yeah, if anyone has any, you know, guitar playing videos they want me to check out and give some personalized feedback, just let me know. Let me know in the chat. You can also just say that, yeah, watch my video X, and I'll go to your profile and check it out. But I can look at, you know, it's much more accurate if I can just see you playing than if you ask like, okay, what should I do in this situation? I could maybe do a little jam, but I really want to focus on, you know, teaching on this stream. So if anyone has any questions on anything guitar playing related, feel free to ask. And also I have my Facebook profile link in the description, so feel free to add me there, and we can have some video chats also perhaps about guitar playing. Yeah, that's true, Sami. Do you have any good free bass plugins? I'm not like the master of bass tones, but at one point I was looking at like some YouTube videos about, you know, using free plugins for bass tone. Let me actually check what those were. Let me see. I think something like TSB, Tube Screamer for bass. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the one. And the anvil SHB. Yeah, I think this is like one of those. Extreme bass head. This is from Ignite Amps. You can just find it on their website. But of course you can use those, for example, how not to play. I think you have good technique, so it's like it's not like an example of how not to play. Yeah, no problem. By the way, this is one of the original songs I'm working at the moment. I'll just let you hear this. It's like really scratchy at the moment, but and the yeah, I don't have to explain that it's really scratchy, so everything is still pretty scratchy. Then I have some placeholders for like an interlude and solos, so I also need to make like some sort of a build up for the lead. But some sort of an interlude here. Then some sort of a lead after the build up. And then after that, back to the main riff. But yeah, it's pretty fun, like 240 BPM thrashy thingy. I wanted it to have really like lots of old school vibes, so it's really simple, like some chromatism in there. And so on, but of course much faster. So it's pretty fun to use those chromatic, like slides and everything, because at faster speeds you don't really pay attention to the melody. It's more like how different dynamics sound to you, so it gives like a cool effect to the listener. So you can get away with using lots of chromatism. And this next riff is pretty much all like really dissonant slides, but it sounds pretty cool in my opinion. But yeah, it's gonna be pretty fun. I was planning on doing like a solo EP, so this is titled like EP1. And I also have that other song which I need to finish, but haven't really gotten to that. Let me find that. I have so bad project names here that I don't know which one is the right. I think it could be this one. Nope. I have no idea where it is. I can actually find the MP3 file for that. Just a second. Just need to hide my computer for a second. Like this is another scratch song. And this has way more harmonics in it. And that other one was like really straightforward. This is like more, I guess, progressive. Yeah, this is like pretty old school riff. Like, I like to combine, you know, old school verse riffs, and then it's like pretty, I don't know if it's like too progressive, but you know, the chorus that comes has like pretty cool harmonies. I actually like this song a lot. I think that chorus is just awesome. I don't know how I wrote that, but I can actually walk you through like the different harmonies that I played in that if you want to hear, because it has some pretty cool ideas, like creating minor chords by using two different guitar parts, like this part here. I guess this is some sort of a Megadeth vibe-ish part. And there would be some sort of a solo after this. I actually don't know why I haven't finished this one because, by the way, I'm saying this because, of course, when you write your own songs, you can completely like determine what kind of riffs you put in there. And of course, the main goal is that you like the song you do. And I think I have succeeded pretty well in this song because I really like the sound of that. So I really need to finish that. Very violatory. Yeah, that previous one was, yeah, very fast. And let's see some comments. Totally in the metal, or do you post more sober stuff also, like soft rock? I'd say that I focus into metal mostly. I try to keep, you know, main focus in metal. Striker. Haven't heard of them. I need to check them out. Woodbite. Thanks, man. My project folders are worse than that. Yeah, that's like... oh, I have that other computer behind me, but I haven't used that for a while. But there's also tons of different projects. And I also... I'm pretty bad at naming different songs. So I always forget, like... I write like some cool riff somewhere, and then it gets hidden in the Ethereal of Reapers project folder. Maybe I should get in touch with you so you can rent me a real practice schedule. Yeah, sure, man. Send me a message. Well, you can check that out for free if you want, like on Facebook chat or something. Prog thrash. Is it hard to play live? That's... I would say it's not like that difficult as it sounds like, because it's like two different guitar parts which are relatively simple by themselves. But I guess I could like a little bit dissect that chorus, because I think it's like pretty... it has some pretty cool harmonies. Like, you know, the main idea in that is that I play different dyads on different guitars. So the other guitar plays a power chord, the other guitar plays a minor third dyad. So together, when they play at the same time, you get a minor chord with the root, third and fifth. So for example, one guitar plays this. So that's pretty, you know, minor dyad focused. But the other guitar plays a power chord. So you pretty much get a complete minor chord. And the same thing, the other guitar plays like kind of a reversed power chords, other one plays regular power chords here at the lower section. So when those two are combined, it gets like a really cool sound. Let me play that. So you can listen at the left and right channel and hear that they play a little bit different things. And the little feels are, you know, other guitar players like a minor seventh, major seventh, minor with major seventh, or minor sharp seven, however you want to call that, arpeggio. Other guitar plays this. And the next fill, other guitar plays this. So those are the two different guitar parts. And also those, that kind of a pre-chorus little chordy thing. So together those create the minor third dyad in 2 octaves. So it's like a pretty cool idea, I think, like playing an octave chord but creating a harmony with the octave chord, so it builds up a minor third dyad. And that's this part. The chord that comes now. Or not. I have the push to talk thing, which goes to the previous page. This one. But yeah. How do you have the endurance to play this for 4 minutes? Well, it's only like, I think it's only like 200 BPM or 190 or something like that. So it's not anything crazy like 220. Yeah, thanks, David. And sure, Sami. Outstanding speed and power, our school thrash metal, definitely. Very well constructed. Thanks, man. Please finish for both of us. Want to listen to those while I'm at the gym. Yeah, I'll try my best. Like, at the moment in the other song, let's see. Oh, now I completely lost my project somewhere. There we go. I can actually do a little bit of composing on this stream. Right now I'm trying to figure out like whether I should add a pre-chorus for this second song. But I wanted to have some sort of a, you know, something I composed at first would have some sort of Annihilator vibe-ish, fast alternate picking with changing notes like. But if I play that 240 BPM, it's not gonna have the same effect that I want it to have. So it would be best to be played at like 200 BPM, but then the tempo change sounds really weird. Like, let me try to demonstrate. And I was thinking about doing some sort of a, maybe some Dark Angel vibe-ish chromatic idea where you move the same thing half step down or up. So I think it was something like this. Let me try. I don't really see, like, it's so difficult, like, because this whole song is at like 240 BPM, but I would like, maybe it's gonna be some sort of an alternate picked or a tremolo picked melody that goes in there. Also a creator vibe. Yeah, I think there's like plenty of different influences hidden in here. And yeah, let's actually, I'll try to listen this a couple of times and try to visualize what kind of a section would fit in here before this transition. This is kind of the chorus riff. I think I got an idea which would have some sort of chords being played, like you know, something where you would kind of build up to the chorus, like in an evil way instead of like a super technical way. Any ear training exercises? Something you can do is look for, you know, some song that you really know you have listened a ton of times, and then it shouldn't be like super fast. It can be, and then you can slow the song down, of course. But take a song or a riff that you know really well, like how it sounds like, and then look at any tabs online and compare those tabs to what you hear in the song. And then try to identify different mistakes in the tabs. Like, okay, is it missing palm mutes here? Does it have like some sort of legato that, you know, hammer-ons, pull-offs that isn't tabbed? So that's also a great exercise if you, like, let's say, pick a Megadeth or Metallica riff, because you can find isolated guitar tracks for those. So then you can like listen at the song at the same time as looking at the tabs, and then trying to figure out, like, because I've never found like 100% correct tabs during my guitar playing years, because there's always something little missing in the tabs. And it's, of course, you don't have to tab out 100% correctly for the tabs to serve their purpose, but it's a really good exercise to, you know, identify the mistakes in tabs. Who's the drummer? That's someone called MT Power Drum Kit, VST plugin. So it's all made in MIDI. But it's still unfinished, but I did that like a few days ago, I think. I have now tried to practice platitudes and barn words interlude starting from 117 bar in Guitar Pro tabs. I can actually check that out in a little bit. I tried to get this pre-chorus riff figured out because I think I have a pretty cool idea for this. Jason Richardson, I think he's a fantastic shredder. I haven't, you know, talked to him or listened to too much of his stuff, but I think that's really phenomenal technique he has, and I think it's like really musical the way he uses his technique as well. Just wondering, should I use Pinky there or not? I'll check it in a little bit. Add some reverb to the drums. Yeah, this is like a pretty horrible. This is like a free VST plugin, and you know, before releasing, I'll of course change the dynamics, do some humanizing, and then Oysten will use some awesome drum tones for those and add all sorts of cool effects to them. But I'm just using this to compose with the free VST plugin, so they sound pretty awful. I actually like the sound of those overlapping, what note was that? Overlapping G note. But I don't feel like using the same rhythm for those both fills. That transition is also gonna be pretty tricky at 240 BPM. Also mixing or adding triplets in there is gonna be pretty tricky. Also it ends in E, so this is in G sharp. So I think, you know, something like G would fit here in between. But the transition needs something. So. Getting a little bit of because I composed this song in like one sitting, like all of these different riffs. So now when I have to stick something in between, it's like pretty tough to find out what works, because I've listened at this composition without this pre-chorus for so many times that it feels a little weird adding something in there. But I know it needs something to make it a little bit more interesting, I guess. But maybe I should just delete the pre-chorus and keep it the way it was before. I think that could work maybe with something little in here before the So maybe like some sort of an tail at the end of this measure. But yeah, I think this is fine like this, because it was supposed to be a song which doesn't have any certain like song structure, like intro, you know, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, verse, so on. So this is gonna be now something like intro, chorus riff, then verse riffs, then chorus, and then interlude, then build up to the solo, then back to chorus, and then it ends. So pretty like Slayer-ish or Cannibal Corpse's song structure without any like clear sections, and I think that will work nicely. And some sort of a build-up riff is definitely gonna be useful here. Let me see, I got some messages. I had an idea for this kind of a build-up riff, but it would require a tempo change as well. I want to keep it like old schoolish, where it's like really simple, but it has like some sort of a evilness in the chord progression. Then maybe some sort of harmony in there, so perhaps the lead guitar could stay at the same, but then I would have like some sort of a minor third harmony thing with the rhythm guitar, so it would go up. Let's see how that sounds. I need to change the chords in there. Let's see how I can split this up. Let's use a placeholder or something like that. Then let's record the other guitar. Okay, this has some reverb and delay in this, but not sure if I like those minor thirds. Some sort of vibrato works pretty nicely, but not that one. I guess this is something that I just had some sort of an idea like that, but it doesn't really sound like the way I visualized it. But yeah, I guess I'll spend some more time working on this off stream because it's gonna be time consuming to get sound that really fits this before the lead. I also have to think about, you know, the transition for the F sharp in the lead. So I think right now it ends in E, so that's gonna be fine. But yeah, let me see now that is Sami still here. I can check that out. That one riff you wanted me to check out. Interlude bar 117 in Guitar Pro tabs. Cool. So let me check that out. Drop B. Which guitar track? Okay, this is so painful. When I have the push to talk button, it's the button on the mouse that goes to the previous page. So it's whenever I try to speak, it goes to the previous page in the tabs. I'm using like Ultimate Guitar interactive tab now. Right one. I would definitely use Pinky for any shape that has 4 frets apart from the index finger, or is 4 frets away from the index finger. And now I press the previous page again. So it really depends on like how you play the next shape. Do you use index, middle, and pinky for the 12, 14, 16, or index, ring, and pinky? First one without pinky. Notice the next shape G string is harder with only 3 fingers. Yeah, it's gonna be a bit tricky with only 3 fingers. You mean like index, middle, and ring? I'm getting so lost because I don't know the song. But yeah, for the fingers, the way I play is I try to have most economical left-hand fingering. So that means pretty much that I don't have to move the hand around too much. And let's see, first one without pinky. Yeah, it's definitely doable with, you know, index, middle, and pinky. But the way I would play it is index, middle, pinky. And the first shape with index, ring, and pinky. But it's like, you know, you have to then use all of these different finger combinations. But that's the way I would do it. And we can actually have a chat if you want about this as well, and the practice schedule. Because the stream is pretty quiet at the moment, so we could have a chat if you want on Facebook or Discord. Oh, David, what's up? Yeah. By the way, did you add me on Facebook, David? I think you did. Or not. First shape is easier without pinky, but the next one ain't. I would recommend using the pinky for the next shape in like 13, 14, 16. Using index, middle, pinky. And for the next shape, use the same fingers. And when you get back to the 14, 16, 17, just use those 3 fingers. Are you on Discord, David? Oh, cool. What's up, Tompa? Just doing some lessons and hanging out. If you don't use pinky in first shape, it's harder to use it on the next shape. Yeah, that's definitely true. Like when you have to switch around between different finger combinations. But that would be like a really good exercise to use this riff to practice, changing around. Because if I would play this, I would use first like, these 3 fingers, but then I would switch to these 3 fingers. So changing between, ring finger and middle finger, depending on the shape. So that's also like a really good skill to have, being able to change between the finger combinations. And you can use like 3-note per string scales. Don't use pinky in first shape, it's harder to use it on... Oh yeah, you mean like using it on the 13, 14, 16. So if you use the 3 fingers in here on the D string, and then pinky on the G string. It's pretty much the same thing, like whether you're just changing here, when you change the positions and you change the finger combinations, or when you're staying in same position and then have to change the finger combinations. It's always a little bit tricky. Like one example of a lick that I was facing was like Technical Difficulties by Paul Gilbert. This like ascending descending combination. Like if I try to change the fingers in there, like if I start with the regular shape I use for these 1, 3, 5 finger combinations or fret combinations, I like to use the middle finger there. But then when I move up the position, I have to use the ring finger. So it's gonna be pretty problematic to change. So in that case, I kind of changed to playing this 1, 3, 5 fret combination with the ring finger, so it's easier to switch the position. So it's depending on the speed of the lick and what your fingers are used to. But it's of course best to get really familiar with the different ways of using different finger combinations. I love playing Technical Difficulties. Yeah, it's a fun song. I do find me practicing sweeping off. Oh, cool. That's awesome. How are they progressing? No matter that, if I practice that first D and G string combination without pinky, it's harder to get then use pinky on next shape. Oh yeah, that's what I thought on the first time. So if you use like when you change to the 13th fret index finger, if you then start using pinky, it's a little bit tricky, but it's definitely doable, so that shouldn't be like a huge issue on terms of technicality. It's more like getting used to that. But if you use pinky on the first one, you're still gonna have to change the fingerings for the next shape. Because then on the first shape you use index, ring, pinky. And on the next position you use index, middle, pinky. So that also requires, changing of the finger combination. So it doesn't matter if you use the 3 fingers on the first shape, but then, because you're anyways gonna have to change the fingers that you use on the next position. The sweeping advice you gave me ages ago has really helped me a lot. Oh, cool. That's awesome to hear. Yeah, but that's not so hard to change. Yeah, if it's more comfortable to you, then definitely do that. So it's there's not like a 100% right and or wrong way of playing. I would just, if we were on, one-on-one chat, I could just look like what sounds more clean, which way of playing, and what seems more natural to you, so you don't have, which one has less tension in it. And then you should, of course, go with that one. Going alright, those rolls on the ring finger are pain in the step by step improving. Yeah, it's like when you get started with like the rolls, it's a bit tricky, but once you get comfortable with them, it's gonna be really fast thing to do. But yeah, at first, sure, it's like finding out the right position for the finger, so you can, you know, roll the finger smoothly. But I think you did great, like on the last lesson. So it's just, you know, practice and practice. Why it's so dry? Maybe need some effects for the sweepies. I think it's more habit to use pinky or not. Yeah, and especially when you get into leads, I highly recommend using pinky as much as possible, especially when practicing, because it's gonna allow you to do the stretches much more easily, and it's gonna be more, you know, relaxed position for your hand usually to use the pinky. 12 months ago that the middle 3 notes of a 5-string sweep are done in one motion. Yeah, so it's not like one individual pick stroke for each string. It's like one smooth motion across the string. Like some riffs, I don't use pinky when on higher notes. Yeah, there's definitely some, you know, some guitar players who are like world class who don't use the pinky, but it's like it's really depending on how natural it is to play, like in terms of tension, for you to play without the pinky. So it's not like completely mandatory to use the pinky everywhere you can. But you know, one example like why I play power chords using pinky is it's just so relaxed position for my hands to be in. So it's like really natural. I can just put the hands on frets and it's gonna be a power chord shape. But if I have to do this, it's like a more not as natural shape for my hand to be in. But when I play power chords like this, it's just like a really, really relaxed way to play power chords. Andy James doesn't use his pinky. Yeah, he's like a good example, but I think he also uses it, you know, in some situations. So it's like I said, it's not completely mandatory, but then we could also, you know, talk about Marty Friedman's picking technique or Michelangelo Bedio's picking technique, and you know, to say that okay, you can pick any way you want, but it's like generally it's good to use pinky as much as possible. And you know, there's many exceptions to every rule there is about guitar playing, or you know, every general rule. But you know, in general, you should try to apply them as much as possible. The same thing as, you know, staying relaxed when picking. There's some guitar players who play crazy fast with really tense technique, but it's like in that case, if you play with the really tense technique, you're gonna need more warm up to avoid injuries, and also it's gonna require much more from you to play when you have like really tense technique. So it's gonna be much less effort if you use relaxed technique to play. But example, when notes are more apart, it's easier to use pinky. Have you paid attention to your left hand wrist, like how it goes when you use the pinky and when you don't use the pinky? Because I'd assume that you're probably, it's changing a little bit depending on what kind of a shape you're playing. So that's like one really important thing to be aware of, like how your left hand, what it is doing when you're playing. Does anyone have any video clips they would want me to check out on the stream and give some feedback? Or shall we call it a day? if there wasn't anything to any questions. Sure. Is it on your YouTube channel? Sure, found it. And before I start watching it, just kind of a little disclaimer is what I'm hoping for is I'm gonna give, like, of course, constructive criticism about like how you can improve your technique and improve your playing, and that's gonna be, of course, that I'm gonna point out things that you can improve on. So is that completely fine? In that platitudes, I have to change my hand position in second shape if I don't use pinky. Yeah, so you can use that awareness to also help you determine how you should play that. So what's gonna be the easiest way for you to play, so you don't have to move the hand too much while still getting, you know, clean notes and everything. Shout out to Christian Allegre. Awesome, David. Yeah, by the way, I'm saying beforehand that I love watching all of these videos, like different covers. And yeah, I'll try to be as helpful as possible. So really trying to, you know, point out things that you can improve on. So I'm not just being a, you know, dick, just telling that you should do this and that. So a few things. First, when you pay attention to your picking hand, can you see where the motion is coming from? So there's lots of sort of angling in the where your forearm also moves. So that's gonna be something that you can definitely use to play, you know, songs at this tempo. But when you start to play faster, it's always good to limit the amount of movement and limit the amount of effort you have to put into doing one downstroke, for example. So if you try to limit the amount of forearm, that's gonna help you a lot. So when you focus more on picking from the wrist, because you have really relaxed wrist when you're playing those chords here. And another thing is, which is gonna make a big difference for the tone of your playing. You seem to have, let me actually check the timing again. But when you play those single note fills, try to pay attention that you're not bending the strings accidentally. And also you're not pressing on the strings too much. So that way you're gonna have better intonation for the fills. And you're a tiny bit in front of the beat, but this is like really nitpicking. I'm like, I have to say I'm doing everything I can to find out, you know, these tiny things to improve on. So it's not bad at all, not bad playing at all. So you're a tiny bit in front of the beat. So what you can do is when you record look at the timeline of your recording and see how if you have a tempo set in the DAW, in Reaper or whatever program you use. You can put on like a metronome and start down picking with the metronome and see how well your notes land to those grid markings on the timeline. And if you see that you're playing it a little bit too early, then try to adjust it so you will hit each beat on time precisely. And what you can also do is, after you record, you can also look at the two guitar tracks and see how well they are equal in the recording. So you can see if those have, differences in when the notes are being played. And you can really zoom into the timeline and look at that. And what I like to do when recording, like when I recorded the YouTube videos or when I'm recording anything where I try to be as accurate as possible, what you can do is you can mute the backing track and just listen at the two guitar tracks as mono, so they're both in the center. And then try to pay attention if you have the effect of only one guitar playing with a really thick tone, or can you hear that there's some separation between the two guitar tracks. So if you want to go for really tight recordings, you would want to get the effect when every note is played at the same time. And that's of course impossible to get 100% at the same time for every note, but you want to get the effect for a tight recording that there's like one guitar track playing when you listen at them both at the center. Sure. And if I like to be like really super accurate in some recordings, I also turn off the plugins, listen to two guitar tracks at center, and then when I can hear the pick attack really cleanly. So when I'm doing like some fast alternate picking, I can listen at the DI tracks at the same time at center, and then I can hear if they're played completely at the same time or if there's a little bit of overlap between the two tracks. And it's of course all about, what kind of sound you're going for. For some thrash metal stuff, you might even want to have some separation, but for a really tight recording, it's good to have, it's important to have really accurate take, which is pretty much a copy of another take. But of course played in a different take. Also a tiny bit in that in the fills you play, it doesn't really matter at these tempo riffs, but when you play faster riffs where you have really fast fills, you would want to use the same technique as you use for fast picking. So your picking technique doesn't change when you start playing a fill. So you keep the technique the same. And that's what usually happens also when you start practicing a fast riff. You practice, not you, but in general, people practice it with a different technique than the technique that's required to play it at full speed. So you really want to make sure that okay, you can just check what kind of a picking technique you use when you're playing fast, and then try to replicate that at slower speed and play those feels using the same motion in your picking hand. So that's usually what's preventing people from speeding up, is they use different technique than, because some techniques don't have like a limit on how fast you can use those techniques at. So if you use like lots of kind of a twisting motion in the picking hand, try to play single note really fast using that same technique, and you can see what your speed limit is with that technique. What's up, Caseware? Thanks, man. That was really sweet. So you notice how what kind of a picking technique you're using when you're playing fast here. So you're picking from the wrist and the elbow a little bit. And you should be using that same technique when playing, fast feels. Yeah, nice job, man. And for the you definitely have fast fast fingers going on. So I would point out the tone aspect of the vibratos and bends, because once you nail those, it's gonna be like really really awesome. So let's see. So when you look at this vibrato you're doing, pay attention to when you're going up and coming back down. Listen, are you coming back down to the original pitch of that fret? Or are you a little bit sharp, like leaving it a little bit up? Yeah, so that's like a really, really tiny detail that makes a big sound, big effect to the sound. Like when you return back to the original pitch and make sure that the pitch that you go up to is always the same, that's gonna make like for a really good sounding vibrato. So it's like a tiny little detail which you can pretty easily fix, and it's gonna make a big difference to the sound. And also listen to the evenness of the vibrato. So is it going like smoothly up and down and up and down? I'll wait for your comment on that, because it's always really important that I'm not just, saying things, but it's something that you kind of also notice yourself. Because once you notice these different things, it's much easier to fix, much easier to do any tweaks for your playing than if I just say that, okay, you need to keep it more even. Yeah, I would say that it's pretty even in the beginning, and it's like perfectly fine in the beginning. But towards the end, you go a little bit sharper for the note, so you do a little bit wider bend, and it's also a little bit more spiky in terms of the evenness. So it's more like going up fast, down fast. So those are, for bending and vibrato. It's about the pitch like you start off with and the target pitch you want to reach. And when you do vibrato, you want to go evenly up and down between those two pitches. You have really well the motion coming from the wrist, so that's really good. That's usually problem with people's vibrato is they use the fingers to do the vibrato, and wrist is like 10 times, I think it was 10 times stronger muscle than the fingers by themselves. So you get way more control when you use the wrist to do the vibrato, and that's exactly what you're doing here. And you're using the right motion for the vibrato, and you can see it by looking at this part of the hand. You can see how it's moving and not just the fingers. And usually the hand is going just up and down in this direction if you're using fingers, but when you're using the wrist, this part of the hand is moving as well. I love the little text addition there. Like and sub. Yeah, but nice job, man. And yeah, I have to remind that I was like really looking for things to improve on. And really nice job, man. And those are like little things that once you start looking into more and more into those details in your playing, that's when you start to get really good sound in pretty much anything you play. Is when you have those little tiny details in place. And you definitely got the speed going on. So I would recommend that you add some tone exercises as well in your practice routine, where you just focus on playing at slower tempos but finding the perfect tone for a different way of playing. Like for the palm mutes, find a perfect position on the bridge where you rest your palm, to find the exact amount of palm mute you want to hear. And also finding the right amount of attack and power for the power chords and things like that. And that's gonna make like a really big change for anyone's guitar playing, is when you start to focus on the tone as well, because you got really nice beat and the tone is nice, and those are just little details that you should look at. So yeah, thanks for letting me check that clip out. And I'll actually need to eat something because I'm getting pretty darn hungry here. So I'll be hanging out in the Facebook, my personal Facebook profile after I've eaten, and you can find the link in the description. And also I'll be hanging out in the Discord, so if you want me to check out like one-on-one your guitar playing, just send me a message and let's have a video chat. A little trouble playing my Jackson mainly because of the whammy, so I'll need to adjust. Oh yeah, it's a pretty different way to play with Floyd Rose for sure. And you know, bends are a little bit different, and everything is a little bit different. You have to be more careful with the palm muting, for example, and picking, not to make the notes flat, not to make the notes sharp. But yeah, I need to go to hardware store and this stream interrupt. Sorry. But yeah, thanks to everyone for watching the stream, and see you in the Facebook or Discord. So yeah, thanks and see you later.